Hey everybody, Hugh Kelberger here. Zach Osterman behind me. You know where he's from by now. Dustin Dopirak to my left.
And in the far vicinity.
One Chronic Hoosier.
Yes.
He is somewhat within earshot. We will ask him a question at some point. Final home game of the season, guys. Senior night for one Jeremiah. Senior night for one Jeremiah Rivers. The final, game, final time Guy Mark Michel will sit on the Indiana bench, for lack of a better description.
The gray-suited brigade is
the
one fewer after today.
One fewer. But the game they played Wisconsin, very predictable.
And only in that it wasn't predictable that Jordan Taylor was going to go off for 39.
No, but it was predictable in that Indiana was going to play well enough to be within the vicinity of the lead, but never do enough to get over the hump and actually have a chance at winning the game. And eventually it was just going to tire down and ended up being another 15-point loss.
Yeah, no, it's like a lot of what we've seen, but I think it's a lot closer, and I think it's literally down to the wire if Taylor wasn't obscene. I mean, Taylor was literally off the charts, ridiculous today. 7 for 8 from 3, perfect at the line, 11 from 19 from the field. I mean, you knew Jordan Taylor was going to have a big night. Jordan Taylor's good, and, he had 26 the first time. But this was ridiculous. This was really unbelievable. And they were up by, Indiana was only down by 1 when Taylor goes off and scores 17 in a row.
Right.
That was crazy. I think Indiana had, a better outing than they've had in a while, and I think they could have kept it, It could have been a close down to the wire, maybe not last shot, but last couple possessions game. But Jordan Taylor was just ridiculous.
See, I have a feeling that if it wasn't Jordan Taylor, it wasn't necessarily going to be John Lure or somebody, but it's still Wisconsin, and they were going to find a way to get those shots no matter what.
Yeah,
it was odd that it was one guy.
Not all of those shots. He was hitting he was hitting running 3-pointers, no joke. Leaning into Tom Pritchard and hitting threes.
No, the one he hit against Watford.
Some weird scenes.
The one he hit against Watford was literally it just kind of broke Watford's soul. He was draped on him. He was absolutely draped on him. Kristen Watford could not have done. He could not have done more. And he throws this shot up at the bucket. I just heard somebody say, did he even see that? Did he even see the hoop when he took that shot?
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
And Watford looked back at everybody what more was I supposed to do? Seriously, what could I have done?
Right,
exactly. The rest of the day, you just saw Watford walking back
they're gonna watch film tomorrow. They're gonna watch film tomorrow, and it's gonna get to that, and Tom's just gonna fast forward and go, I don't know.
Okay.
Nothing you could have done, Christian. That was everything we could have asked. It was the best individual piece of defense we saw all night.
Let's shoot to our off-camera panelist.
Indeed.
Chronic, you've seen
a
lot of games.
We're still not putting him on camera yet.
A lot of games in Assembly Hall. How did Jordan Taylor rate tonight as far as performances you've seen from an opponent?
Out of his effing mind. There's no other way to describe it. Out of his effing mind. It didn't matter. We actually D'd him up pretty good on most of the sets. The guy's on fire. Just straight on fire. We have a hard time at times stopping mediocre players or guys who are playing within themselves. He was out of his mind. Parallel, I don't know. It was ridiculous though. It was absolutely ridiculous what he did to us. I remember, I don't know how late it was, but at one point he literally accounted for a third of the total offense.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with a guy like that.
Yeah.
No,
Unless you want to go out and goon it up, and I think we're above that. I hope we're above that. I think Danny Moore's made for that, but that's just my take.
I have the feeling that even if he did try to goon it up, he still would have made the shot.
Oh, he hit a 3-point as
you could have punched him in
fracturing or something.
You could have punched him in the kidney, and he would have been like, "Oh, continuation."
Yeah. Yep. I'm not sure this would have mattered. I'm not sure it would have mattered if he'd done it any differently, but I just want to kind of get your guys' take on it. Obviously, Tom decided that the best way that it was going to work was that they switched the screens. Most of the second half, when Taylor took shots, it was either over top of Watford or over Pritchard. He was being defended by bigs. I talked to Taylor afterwards. He said, Coach always tells me, that's a mismatch. If you're a guard and you have a big that far out, that's a mismatch. You take advantage of that. Green's obviously response was, look, if he's going to hit shots over 6'8", 6'9" guys with their hands up, tip your hat to him. basically. Yeah, what do you guys think? Was this the right call?
I mean, to be honest, I'm not going to sit here and, argue with Jordan Taylor, but he didn't really take advantage of it. He didn't drive on these guys. He wasn't making them move that much.
Right.
No. He was just shooting. I mean, he
didn't have to, though.
He was,
he didn't have to.
He was in, and that's why I don't think the defense mattered. He was in an ungodly zone. Everything he threw up went in.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if he was off balance. It didn't matter if he was falling to his right, to his left, if he was leaning in, if he was falling away. Everything was falling. I mean, 7 of 8 from behind the arc. So 21. So more than half of his points came from 3-pointers alone. I mean, and to be honest, I thought Pritchard in particular didn't do a terrible job.
Pritchard, I thought, was really good.
Pritchard
was really good on him.
Tom kept yelling about Pritchard needing to keep his hands up because that's the one way that Pritchard can kind of exert something defensively on a player like Jordan Taylor.
Yeah.
And toward the end of the game, you could tell he was getting tired and just kind of forgetting to do that. But yeah, I mean, for what Pritchard is, I thought he was fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite accurate to say that Jordan Taylor took advantage of it.
You're right. You're right. I do remember the first time I noticed that they were even switching. Like Pritchard was, you look out and you see Taylor, Pritchard on Taylor, you're like, that could end badly. That might.
And it did.
But in that case, it actually didn't. In that case, it actually didn't. It eventually did because he missed the initial shot. Pritchard got a hand in his face. I mean, he had to take a high shot over him, and that was one of the few he missed tonight. Somehow Wisconsin ended up throwing. I think Brusewitz threw a hand in somewhere and tipped it out to somebody.
Yeah,
and somehow they made it up with it, and it ended up back. It ended up back. Exactly. As you pull Pritchard out,
rebounds as
you
take
did.
Pritchard
You're right.
and or Watford away from the basket.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's harder to rebound and everything like that.
Because Wisconsin's already got a bunch of big guys that see Jordan Taylor, shooting the night of his life and just say, well, I'm going to crash the boards because, if he misses.
Right. Guys,
so we have now talked about Taylor for 7 minutes.
Let's talk about the next one. Illinois on Saturday. It's a 11 a.m. Central start, noon Eastern, obviously, for those of you that are over the age of 5 and understand time zones.
Thanks.
Most Hoosiers are still coming to grips with that, by the way, too.
It's a new. That's don't forget it. That's
we just don't know where we are.
It's kind of a new thing in Indiana. Yeah.
Anyway, earlier this season, Northwestern played Indiana. It was a similar, just one day in between. Bill Carmody did not have his team practice. Wanted to be as fresh as possible coming in. Tom was asked post game what he was going to do. He said he's practicing.
Yeah.
Which I thought said everything about Tom Crean is that in a game the season that has 2 games left, he's going to fight through to the very end.
It's true.
How do you think this team is going to respond from playing this game on 9 o'clock on a Thursday night? They're going to go to class, they're going to practice, and they're going to go to Champaign, and they're going to play. They had a walkthrough at 7 a.m. Saturday morning, and they're at 11 a.m. when they're normally in intro to whatever, they're going to be playing a basketball game. How do you think this team responds?
I think this team plays better when they're not thinking.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, too.
I think when they lost
right.
Watford and they lost Jones, and it kind of became this, you have to do this and only this, and if you don't do this, and if you don't do it at least 110%, maybe not well, but at least, give it your all, then we're not going to win. And they kind of took the sort of critical part out of it. I'm not saying that they're dumb. I'm just saying that when they made it a little bit less of a thinking thing and a little bit more of a just go now thing, they were better. I don't know if I don't know if they can kind of get that sort of action going, in this, because it's obviously a different setup or a different scenario. But
to me, it comes down to one thing, and actually, Tom brought it up, and I don't think it'll be an issue with legs. It's just going to be an issue of can he get this accomplished? Can he get in? Do what he did last time. If Jeremiah Rivers has another lockdown defensive effort on Dimitri McCamey, they got a shot. They got I mean, that's really what it is. If you can get in his head, and Jeremiah's had days when the guy he was guarding got in his head, and he's gotten days when it's been the opposite way. The last time they played Illinois,
Jeremiah's a good enough defender, and Dimitri McCamey is simplistic enough offensive player.
Well,
maybe that's not it.
Tisdale. I think
they match up.
Because
they got to do something against
Mike Davis
Tisdale.
kind of has that Christian Watford-esque ability to score points without scoring points. At the end of the game, he ends up with 18 or 19, and you're just kind of like, without
looking like he's doing much. Is what you mean.
But if you let a second guys start going in the post, I think that's when it's trouble.
But I think if Rivers gives McCamey problems, if he has one more really good defensive effort left in him, that makes it a game.
We'll start with Chronic. Saturday, win, lose for Indiana.
I don't like where we're trending right now from an effort standpoint, from an execution standpoint. That's not to say that's going to be predictive of the outcome. This could be the most hostile environment we step into. I think Illinois fans probably smell blood in the water with this team right now. The post-Kelvin Sampson era love to run it up on us, or would love to if they get the chance. I think we better come out there with our best game, or it could get ugly. That being said, we look like we're limping towards the finish line here, and I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, I'd agree. This season seems done in a lot of ways. Just tonight it would have been okay if tonight had been the last game, in a lot of respects. Like if this had been the last game, say goodbye to Jeremiah, say goodbye to Key, move on.
Goodbye, Key.
I honestly
predicted one Illinois win this season.
They got it.
They got it.
Yep.
I don't think they're that dead. I don't know. I maybe they go out and get beat by 20 and I'm wrong. I don't know that they win it, but I think they've got one more close one.
I think
they've got one
I
more
think
close
if
one.
I
also
if they're
don't
down
think
big late in the game, put Gee in.
Yeah. I also don't think
Let's just
quick,
in on that.
Spaceship Assembly Hall is not going to be as nasty as you think. Those kids are going to have a late night Friday night. I know a little bit about what's going on in Champaign this weekend. It's not going to be as nasty as you think.
Or they're still going to be...
If they make it.
They're just going to roll through.
Maybe. Who knows?
All right.
I don't know.
Thanks, everybody.